Then lo and behold, I seen the news.
It all started with a jewelry theft.
Tampered 11 investigative series on this cop, and I thought to myself, hey, that's the guy that was on my case.
A St. Paul man sitting in prison sees a Tampered 11 investigation and uses it to help clear his name.
Here is investigative reporter A.J. Lagoe with Tampered Evidence.
I was innocent. I knew I was innocent.
Our investigation starts
I got set up by the police.
with that damning claim from a Minnesota man sentenced to prison for years.
Yep, 60 months.
60 months. That's a long time.
Yeah.
42-year-old Ben Hill is quick to acknowledge he's made mistakes.
So I know that I'm not allowed to have any guns. I know the consequences. I don't play around with guns.
There's DNA evidence, however, that seemed to prove otherwise. In 2010, the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office served a search warrant on his parents' home, investigating a reported burglary where Ben was their suspect.
So down here is where they found the gun.
In the basement, in a filing cabinet, in a case, they found a handgun. Ben owned a successful business, a pizza shop in this building, which was also searched.
They found a gun in the basement of the pizza shop.
Ben was arrested, booked into the Ramsey County Jail.
My name is Tom Rudnick. I'm an investigator with Ramsey County Sheriff's Department. Search warrant for your DNA.
Investigator Thomas Rudnick recorded the interview when he showed up with a search warrant for Ben's DNA.
Take one of these tips, put it in one side of your mouth, switch it around for a couple seconds. Am I being charged or something? Yeah, you more than likely will be charged with felony theft, burglary, and possibly possession of a handgun by a felon.
The burglary investigation ended with no charges. Ben says he wasn't really worried about the guns. One belonged to his sister, the other to a pizza shop employee.
I didn't touch them guns. Never even seen them before.
But then the BCA lab report came back. DNA on the grip and triggers of both guns matched Ben. A match the report says would not be expected to occur more than once among unrelated individuals in the world population.
The DNA doesn't lie.
Yep. But in this case, it did.
At trial, that DNA sealed his fate. The jury's easy verdict? Guilty. Ben Hill became DOC inmate number 240626. Here's where that seemingly open and shut case takes a bizarre twist. In 2016, a Tampered 11 investigation exposed how the lead investigator on this case that sent Ben Hill to prison belonged behind bars himself. Deputy Thomas Rudnick, the same investigator from Ben's case, was tampering with evidence and bungling cases. After he retired, it was discovered he'd let actual thieves walk free, while he took evidence he seized, like this jewelry, and pawned it himself, caught on camera, lining his own pockets at the expense of victims, like David Bellis.
Devastating. It really is.
Mr. Rudnick?
Yeah.
A.J. Lagoe. I'm with Tampered 11 News.
Rudnick refused to talk with us.
I'm not going to comment, okay?
When investigators served a search warrant on his home, they found he'd hung on to all sorts of evidence. The dirty cop was himself arrested, but got a sweetheart deal. He pled guilty to just a misdemeanor, was sentenced to just 1 day in jail, and even kept his taxpayer-funded pension. Ben Hill saw that report on the prison TV.
Then lo and behold, I seen the news.
It all started with a jewelry theft.
Tampered 11 investigative series on this cop, and I thought to myself, hey, that's the guy that was on my case.
He couldn't help but wonder, had the evidence in his case been tampered with too? After serving his time and getting out, Ben hired attorneys Paul Applebaum and Tom Hagler to try and clear his name.
Here's an example of...
Hagler discovered doctored records and major holes in Deputy Rudnick's chain of custody for the DNA swabs and the guns in Ben's case.
His stories, his web of lies started to fall apart.
You're claiming he took the DNA that he collected from Mr. Hill and then wiped it on the guns?
Right. This was a complete frame job by Mr. Rudnick against Mr. Hill.
Is that true? Our search for answers took us to a small town in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Former Deputy Rudnick had moved out of state. We tracked him to this house, where his name is scrawled on the outside. We heard him hollering from the back for his dog. so called out.
Hey, Mr. Rudnick, are you home? I'd like to talk with you about the DNA in the Ben Hill case.
He apparently went inside and wouldn't come out when we knocked.
It appears he is not going to come talk with us.
However, in a court hearing in Ramsey County to decide if Ben Hill deserved a new trial, Rudnick was asked if he planted DNA. He responded, "No, I did not." But Judge Judith Tilson didn't buy it and issued a bombshell ruling. This court believes that opportunity and means, coupled with Deputy Rudnick's dishonest behavior as an officer, provide proof by a preponderance of the evidence that the DNA was planted in this case. Ben Hill ended up completely exonerated.
It was all a big lie.
Mr. Hill, thank you for being here today.
At the state capitol in April, a committee voted to compensate Ben $423,000 for his wrongful conviction.
That claim has been approved.
Ben and his attorneys have also filed a federal lawsuit claiming his civil rights were violated by Rudnick and the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office.
It cost me everything. It's basically costing me 5 years of my life, which I'll never get back.
And here's the kicker. Since he was a county employee at the time, taxpayers are stuck funding former Deputy Rudnick's legal defense in that federal lawsuit.
I'm flabbergasted.
It's quite the tale, right?
I think when you watch that, you kind of wondered, is there any evidence that maybe he planted anything else on anybody else?
Well, here's what we know right now. Records from the Ramsey County Attorney's Office show they don't believe anyone else was framed, and they actually seriously question whether the DNA was actually planted to begin with. However, they do say Deputy Rudnick clearly engaged in negligent misconduct in this case, and they suspect it's highly likely he did so in other cases.
Does he keep his pension?
As of right now, he keeps his pension.
All right. Wow. Just jaw-dropping. Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.